What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. So today's video is going to be kind of different in that I'm going to be sharing with you how I got custody of my daughter back, do's and don'ts of a CPS or DHS case, and just kind of my advice on how to go about that whole process if you find yourself in the unfortunate circumstance of having your kid placed in foster care. It's scary, it's terrible, it's gut-wrenching, but there are definite ways to go about regaining your custody. So that's what today's video is going to be. If you're new here, my name is Jess. I'm a recovering addict who served time in prison. I'll leave more stories about me in the description box down below. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So let me give you guys some of a backstory on why my daughter was placed in foster care. So I found out I was pregnant a couple of weeks after I was arrested in 2011. And I was in denial for a long time because I couldn't mentally process that. I knew I was going to prison, and I didn't know how to go to prison pregnant. In the past, I have seen girls come in and out of the jail that were pregnant or that found out they were pregnant there. So I had seen that process, but I never paid any attention to it because for some reason in my mind, I thought I would never be a parent. I thought there's no way I'm ever going to have kids. There's no way I'm ever going to be a mom because, let's be honest, I was not maternal whatsoever. I literally had a pet turtle that I lost. Like, he was supposed to outlive me and somehow he didn't make it, okay? Like, my life was crazy. R.I.P. Fred, wherever you are. So I was very distraught and very scared, and I didn't know how to go about any of that. So long story short, I get sent to prison, and the prison had caseworkers coming in periodically, and they'd ask me for phone numbers or relatives or people that we could contact to try to place my daughter with family. As I have mentioned before, my family is in New York, and they just financially could not travel to Arkansas, stay in Arkansas, and go to court and deal with all of this. And I have received, criticism on saying that because it's very easy on the outside looking in to be like, I don't care what it costs, I would have done it, but if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. Family court is long and it's expensive, and my family just didn't have the means to do that. We tried to go about placing my daughter with her biological father's family. They're all really good people, but it didn't work out. So Micah inevitably went into foster care. I didn't know where Micah was or that she was okay or what she looked like for almost 4 months. And then finally I got a picture of her. I was terrified that whole time that something was wrong, obviously. No one was telling me anything. I couldn't contact anybody. She was just in the system and I was in prison and there was nothing I could do. And that was so difficult for me. After she was born, I had extreme postpartum depression and PTSD to the point where I couldn't even speak, and I was kept in the infirmary. I'm just trying to wrap it all in here. So mentally I was not doing good. I was able to kind of regain mental stability. So at 6 months, I went to a court hearing for her, and I got to meet her for the first time since she was 2 days old, because after I gave birth in prison, she was placed into the foster care system, and I went back to prison. She went to foster care. So at 6 months old, I got to hold her for the first time for 15 minutes in chambers. And in that moment, I thought, I will do whatever it takes to be your mom, whatever it takes. If this judge tells me to stand on my head and walk 10 miles, I'm standing on my head. Whatever it takes. So my first piece of advice here is do what the judge tells you to do. Not what you think she meant or he meant, exactly what they tell you to do. So every case is different. Every judge is different. Every state is different. Everything's different, right? The people are different. All of it's different. There's different laws and statutes and time limits and restrictions. So I just want to be very clear here that this is my personal experience and my personal advice. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what worked for me, and maybe that helps. So my first piece of advice, listen to the judge. Do whatever that judge says. For me, that meant a whole long list of things, okay? So I knew when I was in prison that they were going to ask me to do parenting classes and addiction classes and all of that. So I started that in prison. I started as quickly as I could. I started as soon as I could mentally, get out of the trauma that I was dealing with. As soon as I was able to, heal mentally after birth, that's when I started the parenting classes. I did parenting, thinking errors, NA, AA, I did everything and I kept track of it all. Once I completed these classes, I kept all of my certificates to hand to the judge because I can't waste any time. So, first piece of advice, listen to what that judge has to say, do exactly what they say. Number 2, be proactive. Before a judge or a caseworker tells you that you have to do parenting classes, find one and sign up for it immediately. If it is part of your case plan to remain sober, do so. You can get a recovery coach or a sponsor. And again, that all falls under the umbrella of be proactive. Be proactive about this. Do every single thing in your power to make the judge see that you want to be a part of your child's life and that you'll do anything necessary to regain custody. And being proactive is a huge thing. If you show initiative, like I have a recovery coach or a sponsor and I'm staying clean, and they will test you if that's part of your plan. Letting the judge know that you're willing to take these steps is a huge plus. Number 3, do not get frustrated. Now that is a freaking mountain, because anytime you're dealing with family court, it is frustrating and it's difficult, and sometimes these cases take a long time, and when you're newly sober, if that is the situation, it can be difficult because it's like, come on, man, I've been sober 90 days. I just want my baby. Be patient and try not to get frustrated. Now, I just want to throw this in here. The caseworker can recommend things to you, but the caseworker is guessing. Okay? The caseworker has no idea what the judge is going to say. And I'm saying that because I had a caseworker specifically tell me multiple times, you're not making enough progress. We're going to ask the judge to petition to terminate your rights. She told me that 2 or 3 times. And that was very difficult for me to hear because I was working so hard and I had made a list of everything that I needed to accomplish. I needed a driver's license. Well, back it up. I need to get a birth certificate and a social security card first because I didn't have any of that in Arkansas. That's a whole nother challenge. Then I need a car, but back it up. I don't have the money for a car, so I have to figure it out. That was a requirement. I needed an apartment with my name on the lease. As a felon, that's difficult. That took me months. I had to have a reliable source of income to prove that I could take care of my kid. That was difficult as a felon, and the caseworker told me that working 2 jobs, she told me that working 2 jobs seems like I'm all over the place and I need one consistent job. Now again, the judge didn't tell me that. The caseworker speculated that the judge might not like that, but I kind of took her word as everything because I didn't know any better. So the point I'm making here is you don't know what the judge is going to say. Every single thing the caseworker says to you, double check with the judge when you do have your court hearings. But, because she said that, I was frantically trying to find a job, and I just happened to find a freight broking job, a lot of transportation in Arkansas. So I was able to work at a company called Landstar. I had a desk and it was one consistent, steady job. And so I was able to do that. I was finally able to get a car and kind of just check off the whole case plan, one thing at a time. But at first it seems like a mountain, right? Like they have all these things they want me to do and I'm just one person. So do what the judge says, be proactive. Know that the caseworker is merely speculating on what the judge is going to say. If the judge tells you to stay away from certain people, you stay away from certain people. It seems so daunting when that happens to you. It seems like you're never going to be made whole again after your baby is taken from you. And I know how difficult that is, but you can do this. If you are going through that situation right now, I promise you can do this. It can be very difficult at times, very frustrating at times, emotionally, physically draining, but you can do this. You are strong enough. Another piece of advice is to be on time. Be on time for court appearances, for visitation, drug testing. Be on time for everything. It just shows that you're serious. I'm very much a Virgo, so being late gives me anxiety. But I'm always 5 minutes early. That just shows that I'm here, I'm dedicated, I'm on time, I showed up, let's get this done, right? So be on time. Another piece of advice is ask questions. Can I do this? Okay, you don't want me to do that? What can I do instead? Am I going to be able to have an extension if I can't do these things on time? Ask questions. Make sure you fully understand what that judge has set out for you. Understand the case plan that they've laid out. And if that means asking a million questions, you ask all those questions. You have to be very clear of what they are requiring of you. Understand it. Go through every single thing in your court documents to fully understand what you're gonna do. Another piece of advice is to write down these things. With everything that I do, I make lists, and for some reason, like the mind connection to writing things down helps. It helps me get a clear-cut plan of what to do. Because if you're told to do 20 things, it's like, oh my God, there's 20 things in my brain, and it's all over the place, right? So be organized, write this stuff down, ask questions, understand the case plan, and make a clear blueprint of how you're going to go about tackling this case. Another piece of advice is to have your house clean. Life is messy, but keeping a house that's clean and organized, if a caseworker drops in to just inspect the house, they're gonna see a clean space. They report everything to the judge, so it is very important that you leave them very little room for criticism. So just keeping a clean space, if the caseworker drops over, again, it leaves them very little room for criticism. And it looks like you got your life together, so if someone walked in my house right now, they'd be like, oh my God, girl, get it together. Another piece of advice is if the judge is asking you to get certain items for your child, but you can't afford them, there are plenty of places that donate supplies for parents in need. So reach out to your local communities, churches, things like that, and see if they have a donation pile. See if you can get things donated to you, whether that's a crib or just, basic things, clothes for your baby, whatever you need. If you cannot afford it, there's a lot of resources for parents, so definitely look into that. The last piece of advice that I have for you guys is to stay strong. I know that when this happens, it's so gut-wrenching because it's your baby, but you can do this. You can regain custody. There was a time where I didn't think that I would be able to regain custody of my daughter. I remember calling the foster parents, crying in the halfway house. The caseworker said I'm running out of time. The caseworker said I'm running out of time. I was very fortunate to have a foster family that said I could have an open communication with Micah if the judge ruled in their favor and they were going to put Micah up for adoption. I was grateful for that knowing that I would always have access to my daughter, but I knew in my heart and soul that she belonged with me. I'm gonna end today's video here. Hopefully this advice helps you guys. If you wanna hear more stories about the challenge of working a DHS case after prison and being on parole and navigating through all of those things, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to make more videos like this for you guys. As always, stay safe, stay sober. You are so much stronger than you know. And I will see you in my next one.